Air travel is booming once again, and along with that, its carbon bill. By 2027, most international flights will be subject to CORSIA, a global scheme to cut and offset carbon emissions using carbon credits and sustainable aviation fuel, amongst other things. CNA's Geraldine Yap sat down with the International Air Transport Association's Asia-Pacific head of sustainability and started by asking him whether CORSIA will push up ticket prices.
The hard truth is that there is a cost to decarbonization for the aviation sector. And the challenge is also that airlines actually operate on a razor-thin margin. So airlines in this part of the world, in Asia Pacific, the average profit per passenger is only about $3. So I think that's where, instead of looking at it from a cost issue, it's maybe one of a shared responsibility. There would be parts where an airline needs to step in, but also the wider ecosystem, so governments with their policies, then upstream the investors, and then of course downstream to the passenger. Everyone has a role to play. And I think what is key in this whole ecosystem is the government policies, because we are of course hoping that the policies would support the aviation decarbonization process. But if we have policies that are poorly designed or poorly sequenced, it could actually increase the cost to decarbonization without actually accelerating the progress.
Over-reliant on carbon credits to deal with growing emissions, and is CORSIA enough to help the industry achieve net zero by 2050?
Solutions within the aviation sector itself is insufficient for us to get to net zero by 2050, and that's why we actually have to tap on offsets and also carbon removals from outside the sector to help us reach that goal. So that is why we do need to tap on CORSIA. It is not the main lever for decarbonization, but it will be an important one for us to reach net zero by 2050. What's also interesting is that CORSIA as a scheme is actually a decade old, so it does reflect the far-sightedness of the government and also of the industry in terms of its commitment to reduce carbon dioxide emissions from the sector for international aviation.
So now, with countries, companies, airlines looking to offset their carbon emissions, do you think that there are enough high-quality carbon credits to go around?
No, there's definitely insufficient credits, and we need more, and we need it fast. So today, we estimate at IATA that for the first phase of CORSIA, which runs from 2024 to 2026, we need about 200 million what we call CORSIA eligible emissions units, or CORSIA EEUs, for us to actually meet the compliance requirements. But today there is only about 38 million CORSIA EUs in the market, so it's about a fifth of what we all need as an industry.
Right. Another part of CORSIA is, of course, sustainable aviation fuel. Do you think that there will be enough of this sustainable aviation fuel for the global aviation industry?
There are two parts to it. One is that if we are able to reduce the carbon emissions through the use of sustainable aviation fuels, then there will be less need for the carbon credits. So that's why the use of sustainable aviation fuels and also low carbon aviation fuels is very important for airlines. We estimate that this year we would see about 2.4 million tons of SAF production, which is only about 0.8% of total jet fuel demand by the airlines. What is good news is that based on our study, we did a global feedstock assessment. There should be sufficient feedstock to actually power us in terms of SAF, because SAF is the main decarbonization lever for airlines.